Dr. Bill Cassidy, running for the U.S. Senate against Dem Mary Landrieu. I was reading a couple of days ago, and I've read a couple of things about this, and it's somewhat confusing to little old me, and that's liquefied natural gas and how Louisiana and America in general could... Well, it was described in the article I read as a gold mine waiting to happen, not only for our own energy independence jobs et al., but the possibility, the potential of LNG exports. And yet that seems to be something else that this administration seems to be cutting off at the knees in so many cases. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit. A lot of folks are aware that some of the well activity in the Haynesville Shale has been shuttered. The gas that is produced in northwest Louisiana is dry gas, methane. What the petrochemical companies want is wet gas, which has more liquids. So there's not as much demand for our dry gas. On the other hand, what would be shipped overseas as liquefied natural gas is precisely the gas that is produced here in the Haynesville. If we were to build these terminals, each one's $20 billion, an incredible number of construction jobs. Most are going to be on the Gulf Coast, say in Lake Charles area. So we would not only create construction jobs, pipeline jobs, but also jobs at the wellhead. So Haynesville would open up as we seek to have that gas. Now, every 2 months, the Obama administration will approve another project. These projects take 4 or 5 years to build. What we're trying to do is get them to expedite. Listen, you can have a parallel path. Not everything has to go in the order that it was submitted. You can take the ones that really look like they're mature and allow them to go on a parallel path to create these jobs as well as the increased energy security for the rest of the world. Right now, Russia has leverage because Europe needs Russian natural gas. If we were sending Haynesville Shale natural gas, Russia would have less money to fund its military to kind of press upon the rest of Europe. This works for our workers, works for our families, it works for our national security.
Got another issue. We just got a message on our Facebook page here. I want to know your thoughts on tax reform, and can you touch on the fair tax debate that we've talked about here on KEEL for a little while?
Fair, we've been going back and forth, fair and or flat, for some time now. So,
well, clearly, Governor Jindal tried to bring up a fair tax, and the people of Louisiana rejected that fair tax, and so that was a huge debate. I would say that right now the voters in our state vote against. There's a complexity there that we found out about. So on the one hand, it's a nice discussion, but our voters typically do not favor, if you're to believe what happened last time with Governor Jindal.
What do we do about tax reform then?
So what Republicans have proposed is actually a bipartisan tax plan. What if you did away with some of the exemptions and you could even lower the rates, but by doing away with exemptions, you would create more tax dollars even though rates are lower. The example I always use, when Bill Gates gave $20 billion to the Gates Fund, he did not pay any taxes on that. If you said, Mr. Gates, you can have $1 million worth of deductions, that can be your mortgage interest, it can be your charitable contributions, it can be your health care expense, but say $1 million, he would have paid taxes on the remaining $20 billion. Now, Warren Buffett, when he gave $10 billion, he would have paid taxes on everything above, you pick a number, say $1 million. Warren Buffett finally gets his wish. He finally gets to pay more income tax because when he's contributing this money to the Gates Foundation, he's paying taxes on it as opposed to writing it entirely off.
Congressman Bill Cassidy, Dr. Cassidy, he's running for a U.S. Senate in Louisiana, and it's going to be a heated race. I want to ask you one thing that's been accused of the incumbent, Mary Landrieu, and we've heard a lot of people speculate that she's putting people in all these races all over the state, including our mayoral race here in Shreveport, including the congressional race here in the Northwest Louisiana, to bring out voters so that she wins that election. Can you respond to that?
So whichever party wins in Louisiana, it is thought that that party will control the United States Senate. And so if Bill Cassidy is elected, Republicans will control the United States Senate. If Senator Landrieu is reelected, then Democrats will. I can promise when you take on the most powerful man in the world, and I don't mean Vladimir Putin, I mean Barack Obama, and the senator that supports him 97% of the time, which Senator Landrieu does, they're going to do everything they can to make sure they hold on to that seat.
So she's doing it?
Oh, absolutely.
No surprise to you.
They're introducing bills right now in the state legislature that they're hoping to get on the ballot, that they're hoping will drive out voters for that particular issue who happen to be Landrieu supporters.
Let's get back to medical. We have a local issue. Blue Cross, Willis Knighton in a big feud. They're in negotiations for how much Blue Cross is paid. Willis Knighton doesn't want to pay as much as they're demanding. This is going to happen nationwide, I guess, and it's happening here. Surprise?
No. The President's Healthcare Law, Obamacare, listen, I'm a doc. I've been working in the charity hospital system for 20-something years. And so I've been studying this, and it just is predictable. The President could have known it, but the President didn't want to see it. That whenever the President's Healthcare Law awards big, it takes power from the patient, and it gives it to the insurance company, it gives it to the hospital, it gives it to the government. You're going to end up, if you reward big, with more big. You're going to have one or two big insurance companies, one or two big hospital systems, and they're going to duke it out. And that's just inevitable the way that Obamacare was written. And I say that just as a guy who's been in the trenches for 20 years taking care of uninsured patients. This law takes power from us and gives it to them.